Just because Marc Daniels isn't here doesn't mean there's no beat of sports. Filling in for Mark, here's Mike Talk.
Yes, sir. It's 9 o'clock. WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740. Online and streaming 969thegame.com. On the YouTube machine and Twitter, you can check out the YouTube stream. You can see our pretty faces up there at 96.9 Game On. Mike Tuck with Chris Vasquez. Marc Daniels and the UCF Knights were eliminated yesterday from the Big 12 tournament by top seed Arizona, but they didn't have any birds to fly back on until this morning. So Mark is going to be joining us in the next segment and then getting on a plane shortly thereafter to fly back here to Orlando as the Knights will await their fate on Selection Sunday and where they will land. Not quite as busy a day, CV, as it was when I was in here on Wednesday, coming off of Tuesday's insane evening, but still pretty busy in terms of news yesterday. I'm going to run this by Mark. We're going to talk about the UCF game with Mark, so I'll save that for our next segment. But Superman has hung up his cape. We're not talking about Clark Kent, but Dwight Howard made it official. He's already in the Hall of Fame, so I guess it'd be a little weird if you came back and played, but, you know, that's how that Hall of Fame works, officially retiring from the NBA. To me, Dwight Howard, the best draft pick the Orlando Magic have ever made for what he contributed to the franchise here, to get to see him through beyond that first contract, unlike some other guys that didn't quite make it past that first one.
You're talking about the other Superman?
The other Superman, yes. He might even reference himself as the original Superman.
I could see that.
I'm not sure that's the case. We've had several Superman over the years, but that aside, Dwight Howard, an incredible career, an impact on Orlando, on basketball in Orlando, the run to the NBA Finals, which was spectacular for the city and for the team. Did eventually get an NBA championship later in his career, bounced around. But, Chris, there's one thing that cannot be debated. The Magic absolutely got the most out of Dwight Howard before he left. He wasn't quite the same player in L.A. and Houston and other places after. They definitely maximized their opportunity with Dwight.
Oh, I think he could have retired just with the Orlando Magic. His career there made him a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He, all the bouncing around, you kind of look at him in a different light, everything that's gone on now, kind of off the court with Dwight,
yes,
you kind of question things a little bit.
There's a lot of questions with that.
But what he was able to provide for Orlando and that run to the finals with him, Rashard Lewis, Jameer Nelson, guys like that, that was a fun team to watch.
It was. They were fun, too. You're right. And sometimes we lose sight of that. We get caught up in only winning championships, but they were absolutely a joy to watch play basketball with Stan Van Gundy and the cast of characters that were there supporting Dwight Howard in that run to the NBA Finals. Terrific career. Salute to Dwight Howard. Announced his retirement officially for the game of basketball yesterday. The Magic had to survive the Washington Wizards, but the key word, especially in March, is survive. So they did do that. They won their sixth straight game, a 136-131 overtime victory against the team that allowed 83 a couple of nights earlier to Bam Adebayo. But they won, right? At the end of the day, you flip the page, you turn to the next one if you're the Orlando Magic, and it counts as a win, not a loss. And so I think from that point of view, you're happy that you escaped what could have been otherwise an ugly, embarrassing defeat.
Well, I think we just saw breaking news here not too long ago that Bilal Coulibaly was cut by the Wizards for sending the game to overtime, going against what the Wizards are supposed to do.
That is a false narrative. No one's saying that is the case. There are Wizards fans that might have been upset that he made the shot.
That's such an embarrassing look.
Bilal is on my fantasy team, I told CV, so I was very happy. He had 15 points in the fourth quarter. That worked for me. And we got some overtime scoring. But yes, the Magic at the end of the day survive, win the game. And the Wizards lose the game. So everyone's happy. Everyone's happy at the end of the day with the result last night. By the way, Bam Adebayo in action for the first time since his incredible 83-point outing on Tuesday night. He went for 21 last night. No shame in that. That's above his scoring average.
Yeah.
So he increased his scoring average again, 6 of 20 from the field, he did get to the foul line 13 times. For those that were kind of making fun of the idea, he averaged, 4.8 attempts a game or something? He got there 13 times. So Milwaukee falls to the Heat. So Miami continues their winning streak as well, keeping the pressure on Orlando to keep winning in the Eastern Conference.
Hey, this is the time of year where you want to stay high. No matter how you get the wins, no matter who it's against, you just want to rack up those wins, try and improve your seeding, and hopefully avoid the playing game if at all possible.
Yes, 100%. That would be a primary objective. And then obviously the higher you can climb the seeding, the better. It's still plenty of season here to play, a month to play. So a lot of games to sort through that. We did have a record setter last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stayed healthy and, to no surprise, eclipsed 20 points once again in Oklahoma City's win against Boston. We have had, just the way the schedule's fallen, several NBA Finals preview or Western Conference preview, Eastern Conference Finals preview kind of matchups here recently. It was Oklahoma City besting Boston last night, and Shai again passed Wilt Chamberlain 127th consecutive game, scoring 20 points or more. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but if you do look at it, it is pretty remarkable to have that string of consistency, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong over that time period where you blow out one way or the other, you roll an ankle, you can't come back to the game, shots just not falling. We're talking about the likes of Kobe and Mike and Karl Malone and LeBron James, and everybody who's ever played in this league before has never done what Shai has done. And we almost look at it like the way we looked at Bam's 83 is well, it's the new record, right? Because everything Wilt does doesn't count because Wilt's too damn good. His numbers don't even make sense. He passed Wilt. I mean, when you pass Wilt, it says a lot.
Well, and the fact that he was able to get there, at least as far as I know, I'd have to go back and look at every single one of his games where they weren't forcing the ball to him to try and get him to 20. Got to make sure the streak's extended.
Well, it's not a streak that you even think that much about. It's like LeBron's 10. You're not even reacting into it until you are when it's deep into a streak.
But again, when he hits 120, 121, you're still not forcing the ball to him. Got to make sure Shai gets his 20.
Well, this just in, that's what he does anyway. He is the guy that's the reigning MVP and world champion. And speaking of Hall of Fame, that's already been stamped. He didn't need this record to stamp that. But when you do so much as he's done at this point in his career, that is signed, sealed, and delivered for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And what you just said though underlines the Bam point from earlier in the week. Is I'd have to go back and look at it. That's true. You'd have, and no one cares anymore. The record's set. No one's going to go back and analyze, game 92 of the streak where he scored a free throw late to get to 20 and it was a questionable foul call. He wasn't thinking about it then anyway. No one cares.
Are you already calling SGA a Hall of Famer?
Yes. He's got an MVP. He's a world champion. So what? That's what makes a Hall of Famer. What are we talking about here?
Really?
Yes.
So you win an NBA Finals, you win
a league MVP, a Finals MVP. Yeah. That'll
already.
Do it. That'll
do
it.
Regardless of what else you do in your career.
Regardless, I don't see him falling off anytime soon. And God willing, he's not injured catastrophically or anything like that.
I don't know if I'm ready to put him in the Hall of Fame just yet.
He's there.
Oh, stop it.
He's there.
Stop it.
He is.
Stop.
He is.
Stop.
Oh, no wonder you're called the Grinch.
What makes him a Hall of Famer?
Everything I just said. There's so much hate. There's so much hate for him. Man, the hate in this world for guys that are successful, it's crazy.
It's not hate, but just calling him a Hall of Famer this early in his career is a little bit ridiculous.
Well, he's in the middle of his career now. You acknowledge that there is hate for Shai because of the fouls.
Flopping is a little bit over the top.
He knows how to draw fouls, yes. He gets the whistle.
Over the top.
Until they stop calling them. Every great player ever, and you know this, gets foul calls. They get whistles that otherwise maybe not are awarded to other players. Superstar whistles have always been a thing. Mike got them.
I'm not saying
everybody's gotten them.
Could do without the flopping and flailing.
Shaq's probably the only guy that actually they miss calls because they can't call everything. Sorry, big guy,
But I
Big
could do
fella,
without,
we can't call every foul.
could do without the flopping and flailing.
Can do without the flopping and flailing. Kyler Murray is a Minnesota Viking. There was some reports yesterday. We didn't really get to Kyler because it was like, well, can Sean McVay twist his arm to be a backup for a year? And then, hey, we'll sign you to replace Stafford in theory, right? Like after Stafford rides off into the sunset. Well, forget about that. And I sort of understand, like, money aside, like, would you rather start next year and play or sit on the bench? I think that choice is pretty clear. Real quick, your initial thought to what that means to the Vikings.
Well, I think they're kind of admitting that the JJ, even though it's only a 1-year deal for Kyler, I think it's kind of admitting towards the failure in JJ McCarthy. For as great of a coach as Kevin O'Connell is, he just couldn't make it work with JJ, and injuries are a huge concern with him. He can't really put a string of games together. And when he has played, hasn't really looked all that good. He's been very underwhelming for his career to start. And maybe the Vikings do have a little bit of remorse letting Sam Darnold go, regardless of whether he won the Super Bowl or not.
Well, yeah, I think that,
But
there's nothing you can do about that.
Given what they were last year, and Justin Jefferson was happy, and now he's probably not all that happy dealing with what he went through last year. And the Vikings were losing last year after having a 14-win season. I think Kyler is a huge upgrade. I don't know if it'll lead to a 10-win season, but he nonetheless is a huge upgrade over JJ McCarthy.
They weren't bad last year. They weren't bad. If there's a quarterback that could rebound, I would think you'd look at this and say, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if Geno Smith can rebound and get a 3-year, $75 million deal from Seattle and be successful there before, it kind of fizzled out, then why not Kyler Murray? I think that is in play. All right, Marc Daniels is going to join us from Kansas City, probably the airport, as he's getting ready to depart. We'll recap yesterday's UCF game and look at the bubble as well, because another team bit the dust yesterday and might be on the bubble as well. We'll discuss it next with Marc Daniels here on the Beat of Sports.
Utah, Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma. From somewhere else in the country, let's welcome the host of the Beat of Sports as a guest on his own show. Here's Marc Daniels.
A little bit of an odd day. Kelly Velez had the morning off, so there was no bridge today, in case you missed that announcement yesterday and earlier. So KV's fine. He's just taking a nice little vacation. Marc Daniels is fine as well. UCF did go down yesterday in the Big 12 tournament, but have not left Kansas City yet. So he will join us here now before he leaves to head back home. Marc, I was teaching at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting yesterday for much of the game. I listened to your call for about the final 16 minutes or so of the game, and it just felt like they were rallying back and just never could get over the hump. And at some point you have to say, hey, if we're going to make a comeback, we actually might want to hit a 3 or 2, and that never happened.
6 of 45 was UCF in 2 games here in Kansas City, and you just can't win at this level if you can't knock down shots. My keys to the game segment in the pregame show yesterday, the first key outside of, will UCF's legs be tired from playing the day before, was don't fall behind early. And when it was 37-10, Mike, I think I concluded that they had fallen behind early.
That'll do it.
And, they did some things to get back. I kept saying, if you want to kind of make it interesting, could you get it to 15 at the half? I actually got it to 16, had a free throw with a 10th of a second to go and missed it.
Mm-hmm.
And they got it to 12, and then they, back down 20. But it was a 12-point game with 4:45 to go, and Riley Kugel had a wide open top of the key 3. And I don't know if they would have won, but it would have cut it to 9 with more than 4 to go. And it just kind of was the sign of 3-point shooting. And then after he misses that 3, Braden Burry scores the next 7 points in 40 seconds, and the game is over.
And you got buried.
Arizona's good. They're so big. That front line and Mo Krivas, the center at 7'2". Koa Pete is, I don't know what they list him at, but he's got to be 6'8", 260. The Akoa kid's got to be about the same thing, and they're just so strong and physical. And then the guards, they're really good. They're really, really good, and they took advantage of poor UCF shooting and played comfortable with the lead. I think it's their 10th 20-point win of the season, which is most of the country. And Arizona did what they were supposed to do for UCF. A little bit of a waiting game now till Sunday. There's fewer games left that could damage them. You've got some things to watch, Ole Miss in the SEC, Georgia in the Big East. Ideally, you don't need them winning because it would steal bids.
Right. Seton Hall, Georgetown.
There's not that many games.
There's a few of them.
Yeah, if you think you're on the right side of the bubble today, there's not that many games that would hurt you. So I think they'll get in, but you just won't know. But by the way, Mike, they're one of the teams that'll be on the CBS a camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
are you going to be on camera? Are you going to join them?
No, in the background, but it's always part of the selection show. Fun.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was before last season. John Shire was doing an interview, and he had talked to, I guess it was Brad Stevens, and they were talking about building rosters. And one of the things that Stevens shared with him, of course, former college basketball coach as well, is there's no substitute for size and length. And if you look at, you mentioned Arizona, if you look at all of the top teams, Michigan, Duke, Arizona, Florida, they're all huge on the front line. They're even long on the perimeter. There's a commonality for the best teams in America. And you mentioned Arizona. They definitely have that. And, if there's an Achilles heel, and you mentioned it during the broadcast yesterday, they did leave a lot of points on the board with missed free throws. That could be something to come back and
they missed a ton of free throws yesterday. And the other thing that might, I guess, challenge them a bit is if that front line, if 2 of those guys get in foul trouble. They got CD Gay, another kid off the bench who's a big, but they basically use those 3 guys, for the most part. If they caught a team that was able to get a couple of those guys in early foul trouble.
Right.
But, Bradley just so smooth and a veteran at the point. And then, I don't know, between Kingston Flemings and Braden Burry, I don't know which one I would take. The kid from Houston and Burry's, but they're really good. Tommy Floyd was a longtime assistant with Mark Few at Gonzaga, for those great teams. I'm not saying Mark Few's not a Hall of Fame coach, but he, now in his 5th year at Arizona, and while Gonzaga's still really good, what he's done is he's loaded up on the European model. They have 8 foreign players on this Arizona roster.
Yeah.
including a couple dudes don't even play. And he's got great connections. He did it at Gonzaga by bringing in the international kids. And with the way the rules are now in the NBA, in college basketball, Arizona's got two kids that signed as pros at 16, played second levels basketball for a couple of years, and within the rules, came over. The Krivas kid's listed as a sophomore. He played 3 years professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience helps. Those guys at 16 and 17 are playing against guys 19 and 20, and it pays off for them. So they're going to be tough to beat. I think that they're one of those teams that, I would think he'd get to the Final Four, and yet there's 4 teams left in this tournament here that probably all think they can get to the Final Four too.
Yeah, no, it's the Final Four of the Big 12 looks like the Final Four of the actual NCAA tournament. Now, it was obviously a point of discussion for the last couple of days. I know we talked about it briefly. The LED court, they're eliminating now for the semifinals. What's your take on that?
Well, when Christian Anderson at Texas Tech slipped and left the game in their game against Iowa State, and that game kind of got out of hand, that's when the buzz started in the building among the Big 12 people. And then when H.A. DeBonsta slipped, I think Brett Yormark and his people said, we can't have a situation where somebody loses a star player and they're not playing in the NCAA tournament and the team is impacted by that. So they chose the side of caution. And look, the critics who say you don't test something out at your biggest event, I think that's valid. But I also think there's nothing wrong in saying, you know what, let's make a change here. I'm not going to be stubborn and just say, too bad, we're going to finish it. And if they, the feedback reached such a point that they said, let's go make the change, and that's fine to make the change. That court's not going away, meaning the technology is only going to get improved in the next year to 2 years, because that court is going to become common in the NBA and in college basketball. It's just maybe they've got to be better at the traction and figure that out. Slipping happens in every court. Part of it, and I was talking to a couple of people yesterday, and I'm not a sneakerhead, Mike, maybe you are, is that some people say, and again, the court was a factor, is that the sneakers these guys wear today, it's not the best basketball shoe. They wear more for style and looks and everything, and that the sneaker itself has caused more slippage on regular courts. But again, I think it's fine that the conference said, hey, let's not have something happen that we're going to regret here, and let's just be smart and put the original court back out there.
Yeah. The other big story in college hoops yesterday was from 31-0 to 0-0 for Miami of Ohio. I think we've each made our point clear that I believe anyway that they're an NCAA tournament team, but I suppose it's going to be a discussion point as we get into Sunday.
Yeah, I think that they gave the committee now something to think about. I still think they're going to get in. What now I think is more likely is that they're going to go to Dayton for a play-in, which they'll sell a ton of tickets, obviously, because now I think what the committee now deals with is, okay, now you have to measure the metrics against other teams you're considering. And it's fine if you say, hey, just on 31-0, we're going to put them in, but you have to measure them against everybody else, like the UCFs and what's their wins above bubble, which, by the way, is pretty good.
Yes.
And their net.
That's great.
Like
their
that.
Strength of schedule is, I think it's 11 from the bottom.
No. That's a metric that hurts them. Right. And if you want to get into quad 1 and quad 2. So I think the committee was saying, hey, win the conference championship, we got no problem. But if I had to guess, I think that they're going to end up in Dayton as an 11th seed in the play-in, which will cause some debate with people. And, I get the argument the last several days about trying to schedule games and who will play and who will not play. It's extremely hard for mid-majors to do it. Power conference teams are careful in how they schedule. They're only going to schedule big non-conference games that don't hurt all the metrics, and then be careful. UCF, based on the team they thought they had last year versus this year, they wanted to schedule smart, so they scheduled some good mid-majors. Some worked out, some did not. They also had teams drop them. Iowa, they were supposed to play Iowa right here in Kansas City. They dropped them. Auburn dropped UCF during the scheduling summer. So it's not easy, but it's just time now for the committee to say, what do we think to do? And in talking to a couple of Big 12 basketball people yesterday, and this isn't news, Mike, you know this, for the most part, the committee's work is done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, by the time you get to Friday, there's not many games left. Now it's just waiting on potential bid stealers. There's very few scenarios that's going to move somebody, 2 seed lines up at this point. Like the 4 teams here in Kansas City, maybe 1 seed line at a 2 or a 3 or something like that. But you've reached a point in these tournaments that no one's going from a 4 to an 8 or something like that.
Right. Yeah. The only thing there are, I guess you mentioned the guys that could slide and get hurt in a game. I mean, that would be something. Like I'm thinking as Carolina goes down last night, like without Caleb Wilson, they're not the same team. Like, how does that affect them? Does it drop them maybe a seed or 2 lower than we're anticipating? But you're right. For the most part, it's just analyzing the last handful of teams. And it's easier now than ever because you don't have to worry about, because the expanded conferences of, hey, they can't meet until the Elite 8 kind of a thing. I mean, you can meet much earlier. It's just easier than it ever was.
Right. And, Texas Tech dealt with them when they lost JT Topham, but he's been gone now for a few weeks.
And they've won games, so I think that validates
they got blown out yesterday.
Yeah.
But, they have won games. And I swear, again, I got back yesterday. I think there's 3 million Iowa State fans in the hotel now.
It's gotten more
I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know. It's unbelievable. I don't know where they're coming from. It's unbelievable. But the Topham thing, they've played enough games where I think the committee's got a pretty good idea about, where they are.
All right. I'm going to give you one more before we go. Yeah. Dwight Howard announced his retirement. Dwight Howard, Orlando Magic. What's the
today? Yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I know he hasn't been playing, but you know how that goes. He said, "I'm taking off the cape. Superman is taking off the cape." So, Dwight Howard. How do you define Dwight Howard to maybe younger Magic fans that don't know?
At a time was the dominant center in the NBA. Was the best defensive player for a couple of years. Was dynamic in many ways defensively, and then did enough things offensively during a transition period in the NBA where teams were not playing the current style that you see now. The Magic were one of the first to do it before the Warriors actually mastered it. And I also put him in the category of players that regret their biggest professional decision. And, Dwight was young. Just like another Magic center may have gotten advice that wasn't in their best interest, but in the best interest of others. And, you can only wonder as a Magic fan, as only a Magic fan has dealt with frustration. If Shaq never leaves and he stays with Penny, I believe the team wins multiple championships. And I believe if the Magic found a way to convince Dwight to grow up a little bit more and, he and Stan Van Gundy in the front office figure things out, I think Dwight Howard would have been a dominant center for better than a decade with the Orlando Magic, and I believe would have won a championship as well. And even though he says that now that he regrets it, it's one of those things. Well, but at the time, look what it did. And then from the moment Dwight left, how is that career defined, Mike?
Injuries, really.
Yeah,
and he became a nomad, just, bouncing all over.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whatever ring, but never the same. I mean, it's never the same player and everything.
You're right. The ring doesn't mean the same when you become a bit player.
No.
Like Gary Payton's ring in Miami. It's a ring, but it's not the same.
Listen, I think that I've been in Orlando every year since the Magic have existed, and the fun Shaq and short Penny ride. But I would argue that that stand team that made the run to the NBA Finals, that was one of the most fun teams that I remember in Magic history.
Yeah.
They were so good. They were really, really good.
Yeah, no, that's what CV said earlier. Like, fun is one of the first words you think of about watching that team. It was a joy to watch them play basketball.
Yeah, no question.
All right, Mark, safe travels back. We'll look forward to Selection Sunday. Yep, Marc Daniels. Knights run is over, 81-59 losers yesterday. At some point, you do have to start making shots, and hopefully for them, they can now get healthy. I do think they're on the right side of the bubble the same way Mark does. I think they're looking at 10, 11. I don't even think they'll be a play-in team, but you never know. There's still bid stealers that are out there. As we brought up, Ole Miss, Seton Hall, Georgetown, of course, all unlikely. VCU, San Diego State, New Mexico are still out there. So there's a handful of teams that could still go on, win conference tournaments, perhaps steal a bid. It may not be UCF's bid. It may be a team below them, but just because Joey Brackett's put something out, or Jerry Palm, or whoever else you want to follow with that, not everyone's on the same page. The committee always surprises us, usually with one team every bracketologist seems to miss one team, and you hope that it's not the UCF Knights because everyone has them in at this point.
Well, and that's what we had talked about yesterday is, yes, everyone was expecting UCF to lose, but don't lose by that large amount.
Yeah.
And I mean, to get down 27 early, they just look like, the legs were shot. 6 of 45, I think Mark said, from threes. That's not going to get it done. And they were just allowing Arizona to crash the boards on the offensive side. I mean, credit to them for fighting back late in the game. And maybe the committee looks at that and that saves UCF, but the game really wasn't as close as the score even indicated.
I mean, Mark called it right. Like, yes, you had a chance to make it single digits several times, even later in the game, but you needed more than 1 3 to just do that. You can't go, 3 out of 21 and 3 out of 24 in those 2 games. You could beat Cincinnati maybe doing that because they turned it over 19 times. If you're going to beat Arizona, you're going to beat Duke, you're going to beat Michigan, you're going to beat Florida, you're going to beat UConn, you're going to have to make threes. You have to make up that difference, that size difference, maybe foul trouble, maybe an injury, but that's how the college game is going to work. You got to have a 10 3-pointers or more kind of day, and UCF was pretty far off.
And then you also mentioned it with Arizona's free throws. They left a lot of points on the board that UCF could have made up, but again, they started, I think, 0 of 10, if not worse, from 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just not going to get it done.
Nope, not going to happen. So now they'll try to heal up. They got a lot of guys that are nicked up, as Mark talked about in the broadcast yesterday, that in a week from now might be back out on the floor playing in the NCAA tournament. Interesting where they're positioned 10 and 11. Some of the possibilities for matchups are out there, including could be an in-state battle against like the Hurricanes, who are in that 6-7 seed area. North Carolina is in that area as well. We can go over that a little bit later, but there are just sort of looking at what the map looks like. You can probably narrow it down to about 7-8 teams that are probably likely opponents for UCF if they do get into the NCAA tournament. I was scanning through what's left in NFL free agency. Get your thoughts on what you see happening with some of these names. And there are still some bigger names that are floating out there that you really haven't heard much about, honestly. And I'm kind of curious where they're going to end up. We'll discuss it next year on the Beat of Sports. Quarter to 10. Just for those that have texted in, our text line at 50857. Yes, it was a little odd this morning. There was no bridge. There was no opening drive. Kelly had the day off. It's okay. KV will be back next week. All is well. He mentioned it yesterday. We talked about it yesterday. But just in case you missed that and you were wondering, oh, my God, why am I hearing two pros and a cup of Joe? It's
well-deserved day off for KV.
Yes. It's his wife's birthday, so they will celebrate happily today. On my tuck, in for Marc Daniels, traveling back from Kansas City, where the Big 12 tournament will continue on through the weekend. Chris Vasquez on the other side, who does not like conversations in bathrooms. 50857.
Do.
If you think it's uncouth to talk to anybody while you're in the bathroom, because Chris apparently was disturbed that someone had the gall, the audacity to
the conversation.
say something.
It was not needed.
Look,
also third floor.
We I imagine that's pretty common here. You guys sneak off to floors below, right?
It's common courtesy.
I mean, there's 4 floors in this building. Get to one of the other bathrooms, I suppose.
Just saying.
Now, sometimes you can't make it, man. Sometimes nature calls and you cannot make it. Look, I'm okay with eye contact. What's up? How's it going? Like you're washing your hands, you can have a conversation. Certainly if you're at a ball game or something like that and, your urinals, you might be talking about what's happened in the game. I think that's normal. Not bothered by that. Chris, though, shh, wait till we walk out of here. I don't know. I don't want to know what you had for lunch or breakfast in this case. TMI, right?
There you go.
All right. NFL free agency, Kyler Murray to the Minnesota Vikings yesterday. Rachaad White went to Washington yesterday. We had a few moves, but there's still a handful of guys, CV, that are out there. I guess probably the biggest name has to be Aaron Rodgers. We still don't have a decision. Aaron, hello. Aaron.
We all know
all the quarterbacks are being signed to Aaron. What are we doing?
You know who still doesn't have a quarterback? His former team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he's probably...
Aaron. Will Howard's the only guy we have here. We kind of need to know.
Well, I'm sure the Steelers have contingency plans. I'm sure they've looked at, Kirk Cousins.
Because that's what I wanted. The most important position, contingency plans.
Well, I mean, right now they're either waiting on Aaron or they've seen enough of Will Howard in practice to be that's we're fine.
People in the know have said is that they're quote unquote comfortable with former Buckeye quarterback, K-State before that quarterback, Will Howard.
Or we can just have Joe Flacco complete the AFC North division.
Of course, Flacco's out there. Cousins is out there. You can always bring in an old washed-up guy to
replace the old washed-up guy.
Hold on. Aaron's a little better than the other old washed-up guys.
But is he?
Yes, he is.
Are you sure?
Yes. I am positive I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers than Kirk Cousins right now.
Okay.
That I am positive of.
Okay.
By the way, how's the trade market going for all those backup quarterbacks we heard that you could acquire this offseason? How exactly? Like, no one wants to give up a second for Mac Jones? That's not a thing? Wasn't that a thing that was brought up? Like, oh, Spencer Rattler's available and Mac Jones.
I don't think people
Tanner McKee, Tyson Bagent.
I don't think people were clamoring for those guys. Maybe Mac Jones, but
that was like a common thought for the teams that needed. Oh, these guys. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Clutch my pearls. I don't want to trade these guys. You mean the guys that either haven't done anything or have failed somewhere else? And now, like, ideal. Like, God, if you're the 49ers, you're trying to win it all, right? You just signed Mike Evans. Like, if you can get a 3rd-round pick for Mac Jones, sign Kirk Cousins. Like, figure out backup and take the extra pick, right? It's not that hard of a decision. You shoot for the ceiling, not the floor, right?
Yeah.
I get it. Mac Jones has valuable backup quarterback. It saved them last year. And they're probably not a playoff team if they don't get Mac Jones to play well when Purdy got hurt. But sometimes we over-evaluate it. Like Tyson Bagent. Ooh, yes, I get it. Like his dad's an arm wrestling champ, and it's a great story. If Caleb goes down, you're kind of in trouble. It's not going to be the same outfit.
Agreed.
So, if you can get a 2nd-round pick, find another backup quarterback.
Yeah, I still don't know who's willing to part ways with a second or even a third round
I'm
pick
just
for a backup.
telling you what was floated out there by people that know more than me.
Okay. Not something I've heard or would agree with to do.
All right. There is a commonality for a lot of the guys still available. Not everyone, but they're old or older by football terms. Stephon Diggs is still unemployed at this hour. I won't be surprised if he is for a little while because of some of the away from the field stuff that's out there. Any thoughts on who might dip their fingers in the Stephon Diggs pool?
That's a real tough one because it's not like he's really getting in trouble off the field. He just has some we'll call it girl problems.
99 problems. He's gonna have 99 kids at this rate.
Seriously. Move over, Phillip Rivers. But
it's the Diggs football team against the Rivers football team.
But as far as talent wise, I mean, he's still there. He was still producing. I believe he had over 1,000 yards last season.
Yeah.
He's
32, or he will be 32 going into the season.
Does he feel that wherever he goes, is he going to be willing to take less than what he feels he's worth?
Yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to. Same with Tyreek Hill. Does Tyreek Hill think that he's going to command, or does he think he's going to get, $20 million a year?
I would guess with Tyreek, even more so with Diggs, like we're talking about August maybe before he would sign. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like even as camps are getting underway.
And then, can Diggs stay out of the news again for the off-field stuff? Because, we get to June, July, August, and you start hearing more issues with, baby mamas or whatever the case is. Like, you really want to bring in that headache for a 32-year-old receiver?
How about a couple of former teammates, Deebo Samuel, who will turn 30 this year, and Juwan Jennings, Mr. Stir the Pot. Like, there's a reason some guys make it. Like, he had to fight, like, and scrap for every inch. And then he did a lot of that and annoyed a lot of people last season, including probably some of his own teammates. He's going to be 29, but he is 6'3", 213, and he's been productive when he's out there. Which of those guys would you rather have?
Well, Juwan Jennings, he annoyed me. He had one decent season because other guys around him got hurt. Yeah, he stepped up. Great. But then he's like, I'm worth every penny. Pay me more. You had one decent season. Let's pump the brakes. So that's not do you really want to deal with that kind of a headache for an average receiver? Yeah, you mentioned the body size, height, and weight. Cool, but can he perform on the field? He's been an adequate receiver. I'm sure there's a receiver.
Are you trying to tell me you'd rather have Deebo?
Honestly, I would.
Okay, no, it's okay.
Deebo,
I think it's a legit debate. You're hammering Jennings into the ground like a nail, like you're pounding into the.
Well, I think
board here.
Deebo is a more productive receiver.
Well,
yes,
his career, but
production dropped. Production drops. He was a little overweight, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Deebo's been carrying some baby weight for a while. Respectfully, because I love the way he plays, but
he's able.
He's always looked a little pudgy.
Solid receiver. Use him in the backfield. He's kind of like a little Swiss Army knife. I would rather have Deebo Samuel.
He feels like a Sean Payton dude to me. Like if there was ever he wants this gadget guy. Like, hello.
Yeah, I mean,
low cost probably. I mean, at this point, you'd almost think it's like a 2-year, $11 million deal.
Yeah, they just re-signed J.K. Dobbins. R.J. Harvey can utilize him out of the backfield in the pass game.
They got a bunch of young wide receivers that get down the field though. Like. They could use him. He's at this point. I mean, he's going to bring more to the table than Evan Ingram.
Yeah,
at that same sort of joker spot as Peyton's offense likes to say they have. He feels like he could be a Raven too. Like they've gone through this cycle of bringing in
older receivers.
Like it feels like Deebo. Like I kind of think of him the same way I think of Anquan Bolden. Like I could see that marriage working too. Jennings, I mean, you brought up the Bucs needing something like 6'3", 213 on the outside like that. And you're not going to require him to be Mike Evans. He just has to contribute. I think that could be a decent fit too.
I still think the Bucs should take a receiver in the draft.
I'll take one in the second round.
Don't worry about signing a vet now, one who thinks he's worth more than what he really is. Again, I'm not trying to sound like a Jennings hater, But it really did rub me the wrong way, and I'm not a Niners fan by any means. And I could see why his teammates would get annoyed, and same with the front office. And that's probably why he's not back in San Francisco.
There's a lot of older like edge rushers out there, like the Joey Bosa types and the Jadeveon Clowney types. Like it feels like a Bosa reunion in San Francisco would be appropriate. Like it feels like that would be for a team going for it. Why not bring in older bro to just be a pass rush specialist, which is a lot of times what those guys become at this stage of the game. If there's a guy that, there's a few guys. Like if you look at Taylor Decker, it's going to get a job as somebody's offensive tackle. If it's not Detroit, Rasheed Walker's a young offensive tackle. He's going to get a job. He's probably just waiting for the right offer. But the guy that sort of surprises me is David Njoku.
Solid tight end.
He is, compared to some of the guys that have signed, he's better than them. Right? And the Dallas Goedert thing, I was sort of like in my mind during the break. I was like, why am I not seeing Goddard on any list? I thought he was going to be a free agent. They have until today, actually, to sort through that contract. So at some point later today, either Goddard's going to be a free agent, and the Eagles have brought in some guys. But like if they move on from Goddard, he'll get a job somewhere, and Njoku could be an option for them. Otherwise, there's not an obvious landing spot unless the team just wants to have that complementary piece, especially at the right price, like Baltimore losing Likely. Njoku's an upgraded version of Likely they can inject into their offense.
Yeah, I think David Njoku is a very good tight end. He will be productive wherever he goes, and he's probably glad to be out of Cleveland, honestly, and I don't blame him.
Yes.
Dallas Goedert, I know Philadelphia has kind of put themselves in a position where, starting to get time to pay the piper. They put all these contracts, push them down,
right.
push them down. You can't keep everybody. They lost a lot on defense.
Devontae and AJ and then try to pay, your tight end as well. It gets to be too much.
And then they're trying to figure out if they can get a first round pick for AJ Brown. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
But
based on the DJ Moore trade, they could. I would imagine the Eagles will listen up until the draft. They might say they don't want to trade him, and I get it, but it's very obvious behind closed doors, there's some friction there that they might be better off moving on from. And it's funny, I did read the other day, like, hey, how about a AJ Brown, Max Crosby kind of thing going on for, because the Eagles certainly have been a willing participant in trading, right? Like, I don't know if I want AJ Brown in Vegas necessarily, but at least on paper, you go, yeah, that kind of makes some sense to provide another weapon for. I brought it up the other day with Brian Thomas and the Jags. I mean, why not?
Why would you not want AJ Brown in Vegas?
I don't know, with a rookie quarterback, how that would go. It might be fine, but
I don't think AJ Brown's as much of a diva as we're kind of making it out to be.
The guy reading books on the sideline?
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. There's kind of a game going on, boss.
Okay, he's
kind of like my guys maybe reading the what do they have, tablets, I guess, like Microsoft tablet.
We've had superstar receivers getting into it multiple weeks with kicking nets, so reading a book is kind of the least of my worries.
More than one Odell Beckham kicking net incident. I don't remember the one.
No, he took his helmet and whacked it and then proposed to the net.
Oh, well, okay. I forgot the reconciliation. Sorry. I forgot he made up and they got married.
Yes. But
wait, actually the net turned him down. Is that what the story is? The net turned him down?
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, those are some of the names. There's still a handful of names that are still out there, though.
I do think AJ Brown would be good for Fernando Mendoza.
Emmanuel Wilson to Seattle, too. That's an interesting one. He was pretty damn good, actually, as Josh Jacobs' backup in Green Bay. I don't know if they'll view him as the starter, but Charbonnet's coming off the ACL, so I don't know. Maybe they'll draft a guy and they'll have those three guys sort of duke it out for carries. They've been more than willing to share time, so I'd imagine that's what it's looking like anyway.
Right.
All right, coming up on 10 o'clock, we'll grab a break here. We'll come back. We got coming up next hour, Richard Hale to talk some law with us, some interesting stories that are out there. Mike O'Donnell to talk about the NCAA tournament and so much more. Don't go anywhere. It's the Beat of Sports on FM 96.9 The Game.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? 1Forrest1.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CV's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
All right. Got to end the week strong for you, Tuck. What do you get?
Nowhere to go but up.
What do you get when you toss a pile of books into the ocean?
Pile of books in the ocean. Feels like I should know this, but I don't. Go ahead.
A tidal wave. Like a book title.
No, it's worse than I thought. Take the rest of the day off, CB.
Welcome back to the Beat of Sports. Filling in for Marc Daniels, here's Mike Tuck.
10 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR, HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, and AM 740, Orlando sports leader. Mike Tuck in for Marc Daniels. We got Bobby from Bowiegans in here. What's up, Bobby?
How's it going?
We got a little bit of an echo. We're having it. Is it from your laptop?
It might be from the laptop.
Go ahead and mute your. I don't want to talk. We're hearing echoes. I don't know if you guys are hearing echoes. We're hearing echoes. We've been drinking already. We got the good stuff in here today for Bowiegans.
So it's Friday, so this is what we're going to do.
CV's coming in here to save the day. What do we got, CV? Boom. Yep, there we go.
Fixed it. We're back.
Give that man a raise. Forget it. You're not taking the weekend off now.
I'm just in here talking about how I went to Full Sail and couldn't figure that one
right,
out. So
right. Yeah, well, it's hilarious because the last thing Bobby said is, oh, yeah, I corrupted my roommate my freshman year into drinking. So, right out of the gate, man. How have you been?
Out strong. Doing good, man. Doing good.
Yeah? What's the latest and greatest over there at Bowiegans?
And so I talk about it every week. We're going through our construction. We're expanding our Castleberry location, getting closer and closer. So if you've been in lately, you can actually peek your head behind the curtain now and see ceilings up. All the walls are just about good to go. So we're very close. I'm super excited.
Nice. I know you just had your anniversary. I think last time I was in, you guys were celebrating your anniversary, right?
Yeah. We just had our 11-year anniversary. Yeah. We were brought in the craft malt liquor that we did.
Yeah,
we're sharing fantastic. That a little bit. We had some good times with that on the anniversary as well.
Nothing like some brown paper bags to celebrate a malt liquor being released.
That was the funnest part in our fashion, truly, like, because the labels didn't show up in time, which is like a repeating story that I've been telling lately. I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's get the brown paper bags and throw them out there. And we had a great time.
It almost feels like you should make that a beer name, like Late Labels or something like that. It feels like it'd be a great
we could
beer
play
name.
off of it. Like, the labels didn't show up. I'm going to start writing on cans if it keeps up.
So what do we got today?
So we're bringing back one of our classic beers here. We have our Hollow Note. If you're watching the live here, you can see that. It's our American Brown Ale. And I love this beer. I'm trying to drink more of it because every time I have it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's exactly what I wanted that beer to be. You get nice hints of chocolate, good toasty malt to it, American hops, so it's got a good kind of piney balance. And it's we brought it onto our full lineup late last year, so it became one of our year-round beers now, and it's a staple that we have.
So I know you just mentioned you made it one of your like core beers. What does it take for you to make a core beer and one that you want to bring year round?
A few different factors. One of the ones is we see something that sells a lot, and that people are excited about that. We kind of start looking at that, what the process would be there. Also too, just looking at our portfolio of what we have and what we like to offer lots of different beers. And so if you go to our tap rooms, you'll see we have 20 to 25 different styles on. So we kind of want to cover our bases with some of the beers that will be around year round, like our 1967 IPA or 407 Pilsner and stuff like that. So we've had brown ales throughout the history of Bowiegans, but nothing ever consistent. And it's became a style that people were requesting more. Our distributor honestly started requesting more of it. And when we put it on, we loved the beer and it did well. So all those things kind of stacked up to where I thought, let's just keep trying to bring this back and keep it on.
With the new location coming open, hopefully here within the next few weeks, month or so, brown ale, what is that going to pair with food wise?
So brown ales are good, like really good to pair food. Excuse me. Been drinking a little bit too much apparently. They're really good to pair some food with, especially like cooking out, tailgating, any grilled meats, red meats, burgers, a nice sandwich, like all of that, like really ties into that. You get those toasty flavors, especially if you get a good burger. Brown ale is going to be money with it.
Nice. What kind of food will you have at the renovated Castleberry location?
So we're really pushing fermented style food. Like when we've been talking about for the past 10 years why we haven't had food besides logistics and not having space for a kitchen. It's it's been because if we're gonna do it, I want it to do it right. And what that meant is I didn't want to have frozen food. I didn't want to just have food just to have food. I want to really showcase, some creativity and do what we do. Before we opened Bowegans, I was looking at opening a restaurant, and just fell in love with beer a little bit more. So to do that, now we finally have the capacity to do food the right way, the way that I want to do it. So we're gonna have, it's gonna be bar food. We're gonna have sandwiches and flatbread, charcuterie, but we're making all our sauces in house. Been making my own hot sauce for years, sauerkraut, just fermenting pickles, making charcuterie and all that good stuff. But gonna have fun with it.
Will you make any marinades or anything like that using like a hollow note or any one of your beers?
Oh, absolutely. We'll be marinating. Like we've done beer dinners in the past, and I've worked with different chefs. And when we've done beer dinners, we might have 4 beers on that flight, but we probably use 13 different ones in the whole course of that because I'm going to use beer for everything,
Nice.
in the brines of everything and the marinades and the sauces. It'll be fully utilized in like the most pairing you could get with the craft beer menu. I think it's going to be in Central Florida.
That's so exciting. I'm so excited for the renovated location to finally, show itself and, for us to be able to enjoy it. Been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming. We're excited, and we're almost across the finish line. So we're gonna have some beer, have some sandwiches, have some pickles. I'm stoked. So hopefully, very soon, be able to announce that grand opening day.
Where can we find you?
So we got 2 locations in Central Florida. One we're talking about right now in Castleberry on the corner of 436 and Redbug. The other one in Avalon Park, the marketplace at Avalon. You can find us online at bowegans.com, BOWIGENS.com, and at all the social medias at Bowegans Beer Company.
Good
Bobby.
stuff, Bobby.
Appreciate it,
Love
guys.
it, man. Can't wait to dive into a little of that hollow note.
Yeah, I got you. I'll slide that right over.
Ready for the weekend. Come back. We'll talk to Richard Hale. Some crazy stories out there in the world of law next. interesting ones today. It feels like college football we could talk about every week, certainly. And we got a couple of stories related to college football this week. There are 18 Nebraska football players that are challenging the College Sports Commission, which I don't even know how many people in our audience are aware of, over their rejection of third-party NIL deals that are over $1 million. What kind of case do they have?
So the CSC was created after the House settlement, and if everybody remembers, the House settlement brought about trying to at least wrap our arms around what NIL is going to look like moving forward. The CSC is going to be essentially comprised of the Big Four, the Power Four conferences, and all member schools are going to be affiliated with it at some point. And their job was going to be to kind of try to, get some type of governance over this wild, wild west that is the NIL deals and everything else. Now, what's important to remember here is this CSC, although, yes, it's been created, is still a really loose framework of what ultimately they want this thing to look like. I mean, I think at last toll, they had like 15 employees or something at this point. I mean, it's really, to call it a bare bones operation may or may not be fair, but they're still trying to get it together.
Yeah.
So this was a really big step in terms of them stepping in, governing these deals and saying to the University of Nebraska players, no, these aren't going to fly. Some of the key tenets there have to do with what we'll call deliverables. And let's just use an example. Mike Tuck is a skilled soccer player at University of Central Florida, and he wants to draft a deal with UCF for name, image, and likeness. Well, as part of that deal, there's going to be obviously a payment to Mike, but then there are going to be some deliverables that you have to deliver, whether it be showing up at certain events and signing autographs and or allowing your jersey to be sold and signing jerseys, whatever that happens to be. There are going to be some measurables there. And in this particular case, the CSC said there weren't enough deliverables in the deals that these Nebraska athletes were trying to do. So that's the criticism. Now, the more important question becomes for all of us, okay, well, what do we do then? Because there still isn't any contractual agreement between Nebraska and the CSC. That hasn't happened yet. Although all member schools have indicated that they are willing to be a part of this, there are still some laws on the books in each individual state that are going to cause some problems here, right? Because the Nebraska legislature has said unequivocally, we're not going to stand in the way of NIL deals for our athletes. And now you have the CSC that's very clearly standing in the way of NIL deals for the athletes. And so where do we come down on that? The CSC isn't, authorized. They're not a governmental entity, but but the state of Nebraska legislature certainly is. And so as this continues to develop, as there's this challenge that occurs, we're going to see the interplay between what are governmental entities and what are not, and what's going to rise to the top. I think it's safe to say at this point, certainly the state of Nebraska's the legislature and the rules that they've promulgated is the hierarchy here. So if we see an adverse decision to the Nebraska athletes, they have a logical appeal going to their state attorney general. And I feel like that's where the athletes may prevail until we get this CSC figured out. But it's an interesting case, a test case for other states to kind of take a look at and see, what is the evolution of the CSC truly going to be.
Feels like we're trying to walk a high wire in a hurricane right now with everything in college athletics. A former Michigan coach, and it's not Connor Stallions, that's what everyone's mind would go to, but the linebacker coach, Chris Partridge, is suing Michigan, claiming he was a scapegoat over the firing. He's denied any knowledge and destroying any evidence as it relates to the Connor Stallions sign-stealing investigation. Does he have a case here?
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at the discovery phase of this case and the information that unfolds as it moves forward. Keep in mind the highly publicized case of Connor Stallions and the sign stealing episode at Michigan that ultimately led to Jim Harbaugh taking another job and there being, at least a cloud of suspicion around the program at that time and their national championship. That being said, Partridge was some collateral damage as a result of all of this. He was fired for cause. We'll get to why that's important in just a minute. And there were some very unkind things said about him as he was released, and it made him, certainly made it much more difficult for him to then move on and get another job. This firing for cause is important because if you are fired for cause, then the institution itself is not going to be on the hook for the remainder of your contract. And so certainly that would be relevant here. If he did some things that caused him to be fired, then the university would not have to pay. However, if he was fired without cause, and that's certainly what he is claiming here, then the university would be on the hook for the remainder of his contract and some additional damages associated with his inability then maybe to go get another job because he had been painted in an unfair light. So certainly at this point, we've got a lot of allegations flying back and forth. It's a he said, university said type situation. And as the case evolves, we'll see what information becomes available and how this plays out.
Kalshi just feels like it has the ability to go the wrong way really quickly. You could take bets out on United States going to war with Iran. And right now, the prediction market is not paying out $54 million in winning bets over the death of the Iranian supreme leader. And of course, people that wanted to collect that money are not happy about that. Where is this heading?
Yeah, so let's give everybody a little bit of background here. Kalshi, as we know, is operating under the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. So they're not calling it gambling. We need to be very aware of this. This is a commodity, same as you could trade in gold or silver. And so the rules are slightly different, but by way of background, there was a bet that you could make on the Kalshi exchange, and the market simply asked Ali Khamenei out as supreme leader. Okay, so that language is pretty vague, I guess, because obviously if you're a gambler, if he's out as supreme leader, it could be because the U.S. Took him out of power, or because he was killed, or because he died of natural causes. Whatever that happens to be, you're going to read that as a gambler with a very broad brush and say, I don't care why he's out.
He's out.
But the fact that he's out means I win my bet. Kalshi coming back saying that you cannot place under the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission, you cannot place bets on something that involves terrorism, assassination, or war. And so, they're looking at this saying, we are not obligated under the rules that have been promulgated that govern us to pay out such a bet because of the manner in which this bet ultimately cashed. And so you have a real interplay here. Most of the people obviously getting involved in Kalshi, maybe they're dipping a toe in the water from, a history of maybe doing some gambling, something like that. You really kind of have to be aware of the rules before you become engaged. And we see this similarly too on some of the gambling websites. You have to be very careful about what you're betting and what the payout is. Take, for example, like a tennis match. Maybe you got a good feeling about somebody, you place the bet, and then halfway through the match, they get injured and have to withdraw. Now, what happens to the bet at that point? Before you make that bet, you better be clear that the rules are out there. You need to read them.
Yeah.
You need to be very careful because I think we've seen a willingness here, at least amongst Kalshi and sometimes for the casinos too. Hey, they don't want to pay out this money if they don't have to.
Yeah, there's some injury forgiveness stuff, but not everyone has that. It's something to follow for sure. HHJlegal.com. Richard Hale, as always, it's a pleasure, sir. Have a good weekend.
Take care, Mike.
Richard Hale. Follow them online. Always a fun segment to do. Another fun segment to do. Mike O'Donnell, he'll have a lot of thoughts on the upcoming NCAA tournament. That's next.
This is Step Back 3 with MOD. Straightaway 3, it's it. Let's talk college hoops. Let's talk hoops with college basketball analyst Mike O'Donnell.
It's March, baby. What else would you rather be discussing right now than the brackets, Selection Sunday, and the madness? Mike Tucker from Marc Daniels, who's on his way back from Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament. Mike O'Donnell joining us here now. Thank you for taking the time today, Mike. I know you're on a short leash here, so let's get into it. Miami of Ohio suffers their first loss yesterday. Where do you sit on whether or not that should matter for them getting into the NCAA tournament?
Okay, I don't know where you sit, Mike Tuck. Sometimes I don't know what you're actually going to say. You know, it makes me nervous that you're not a true college basketball sicko like me. But there's a thing with college basketball where, as much as it is about the analytics and it is about your path and it is about your resume and all of it, there is something that is very different than college football, and that there is an emotional side to March Madness that just cannot be replicated. And if you're asking me if I was on the committee, would I bring a team into the tournament as an at-large bid in a one-bid conference with a very poor resume in terms of from an analytics standpoint? I would say absolutely yes. You cannot go undefeated in the regular season and not get into the tournament. There hasn't been a team that's only had one loss that has been left out of the tournament. They deserve to be in. It's a great story. I think one of my only issues with this entire situation is we should be celebrating this. It may never happen for another 20, 30, 40 years. And it should be celebrated, and I'm very hopeful that that will continue. And I think it's an unbelievable story and a story that needs to continue in the NCAA tournament.
What factor do you think WAB or wins above bubble will play for Miami, Ohio, UCF, or anyone else as far as what the committee will tell us on Sunday?
Yeah, I think for the wins above bubble, if you're going specific off of that metric, they're going to shed a positive light on Auburn. Now, I don't think Auburn should be in. I think when you have that many losses, I do not think you deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. I simultaneously understand the other side of where you say, well, look at everybody who we beat. Yes, 100%. You chose that schedule. When you're Auburn and when you're at that level, you choose to be at that schedule, and you choose to put that schedule together. So I don't have. I would say if Auburn gets in, it is going to be because of the wins above bubble metric. That's what gets them in.
All right. Well, it certainly. Jeff Goodman
and by the way, UCF is absolutely in the tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's no question. I'm sorry. I know you also mentioned UCF.
Yeah.
They are 100% in the tournament. At the highest seed they'll be is a 9 seed. I still don't think they'll get a 9 seed. 10 or 11 seed will be the most likely scenario. I do not think UCF will be playing in that first four grouping in Dayton. I think they'll be one of the higher seeded 11 seeds or one of the lower seeded 10 seeds.
Okay. I'm in the same boat as you. By the way, with Miami, Ohio as well, I think that they'll be comfortably in. I don't even think they'll be a first four team. I think they'll be in the tournament as a 10 or an 11
Deservedly
seed.
so.
Yeah.
Deservedly so.
No, I think so. I think so. When you look at injuries, first, let me start with Caleb Wilson in North Carolina, and what impact do you think that could have on their seeding?
Well, the committee isn't going to bump North Carolina down just because of one player. What they're going to do is they're going to look at this team and how they played without him, not just because of Caleb Wilson's out and North Carolina was going to be a 5 seed. Well, that means they're going to be a 6 seed. No, they're going to take the totality of the resume and they're going to look at that. When it comes to Caleb Wilson being out and North Carolina's chances to advance in the NCAA tournament, I think it's a huge issue for Tar Heel fans. And because Caleb Wilson is a lottery pick, and besides that, the way that he plays and the way that North Carolina's offense is structured in terms of transition offense, it is going to, I'm saying slow them down. I'm not saying that in a cliche way. I think North Carolina is going to have issues getting out and going. Their transition offense is known to be some of the best in college basketball. It always is. But Caleb Wilson is a huge point of emphasis for that transition from defense to offense, and I think that could really hurt North Carolina's chances to advance in the tournament.
Duke may be without Caleb Foster for the entirety of the ACC tournament. They're without him in Gunba for the ACC tournament as it is. It could affect whether they get the number 1 overall seed. Don't think it'll affect whether or not they are a 1 seed in the tournament. How do you think that affects them in the big picture?
Huge. They'll be a number 1 seed. Their resume deserves the fact that they're in to be a number 1 seed. But those are 2 players that would be starting on any other team in college basketball, right? And playing, they were both playing at a very high level. Specifically, I think, Gongba and Caleb Foster, those 2 guys, they bring a different X factor level to this Duke team. And you saw what happened against Florida State, who, by the way, Florida State had been playing very good in their last 10 games. And Luke Locke deserves a lot of credit there in Tallahassee. But that shouldn't have been a 1 possession game. It shouldn't have been. And so there are what you're saying right now is that Duke's still trying to figure out how to play without those 2 guys. That's number 1. Now, we don't know the full extent of Caleb Foster's injury. There's been a lot of conversation and talk that if Duke makes it to the Final Four, he could come back in time. But then you also have to remember, Mike Duck, okay, if he comes back, what kind of role could he actually play?
Yeah.
And then how will you play with him and how will you utilize him? It's not this like easy light switch thing, plug and play situation. So Duke, it's certainly a blow to John Shire, who I think has done a masterful job and does not get enough credit nationally for how good of a coach he is.
You're right. He gets credit for being a great recruiter, but not for being a great coach yet, as he's got a team in position to win it all this year. What's the most compelling seeding storyline as we go into Sunday for you?
Oh, man alive. I think the committee is going to have a hard time doing the number 1 overall seed. Believe it or not, I think
if Duke loses, they might. Yeah.
Well,
or you think even if Duke wins, that they could go with Michigan or Arizona?
Yeah, I think between Duke, Michigan, and Arizona, I don't think this is a clear-cut case, because it's not just about what Duke does. Well, if Michigan makes it to the Big Ten title game, if Arizona makes it to the Big 12 title game, which both look like very viable options.
Sure.
And if you're asking me who the best team right now in college basketball is, without those 2 players, and I know we got to be thinking about it from a committee standpoint, but without those 2 guys, Foster and Gongba for Duke, it's not Duke. It's Michigan or Arizona. If you're looking at resume, Mike Tuck, between Michigan and Arizona, what would you do there? It's almost a coin flip. This may be one of the more agonizing overall 1 seed decisions that we've seen in quite some time. It is not clear cut between those 3 teams exactly as of today of who's going to be the number 1 overall seed.
You're right, but on some level it doesn't matter as much because Michigan's going to the Midwest, Duke's going to the East, Arizona's going out West. So yeah, you might get different Elite 8 matchups out of it, but I don't know if it's going to affect the big picture.
The only other 1 seed conversation that we're not talking about,
the other one, UConn, Florida, Houston.
Well, I don't even think it's close. I mean, to me, it's the 3 teams. It's Duke, it's Florida. It's Duke, it's Michigan, it's Arizona, and then I think it's Florida. And I don't think anybody else is close. I don't think UConn should be close to a 1 seed.
So UConn's win over Florida doesn't matter at this stage.
No.
Okay.
No, that's a 1 game. That's a 1 game sample size.
It is a head-to-head 1 game sample size, though, Mike.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. But you're also then saying, well,
and they're probably going to be 1-2 in the South together, you would think, unless Houston wins
which would be a must. But
right.
But do you think UConn is as good today as they were when they played Florida?
No, I agree with you.
Do you think Florida is better than they were? It's not even close.
I agree. It becomes like, are you evaluating the whole season or are you evaluating the now? That's part of the discussion too.
Well, you evaluate the whole season, number 1, and then you have to look at when it's all done, you take a look at the wins above bubble, all of the metrics that come into play on, okay, yes, maybe UConn did win that game head to head, but overall resume, strength of schedule, the amount of wins above bubble, that's all going to come into play for that seeding conversation.
It's gonna be fun, man. I cannot wait. We're less than
best time of year.
48 hours away from Selection Sunday. I'm excited for it. Mike, enjoy the college basketball this weekend and next week as well.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right, Mike O'Donnell at MOD43, great college hoops analyst. Happy to see his progress as his career develops because, man, he absolutely loves the sport and is excellent at covering it. So appreciate his time this morning. Yeah, I think on some level, unless Houston wins the Big 12, because at that point, the South region is in Houston, right? And so it gets to be an argument. Do you want to give them that advantage maybe as a 2 seed if they get to the regionals? But to me, they would have earned it, honestly, at that point. So you could be looking at Florida and UConn in the South together as 1-2. But if Houston doesn't win, then it's going to be Florida and UConn. It almost doesn't matter the order, 1 and 2. You're just having different matchups on the way there. And Houston would likely be in the Midwest or the East with Duke or Michigan. I think that part's mostly sorted out. I don't know that there's a whole lot of drama as it comes to that part of it. But, yeah, no, this is the time of year where injuries, factor in. I would say, too, when you look at the 3 to 6 range, it is as flat as I can remember in recent years. There is not much distinguishing, even the low-end 2s. Like, I don't know that there's a big difference between Michigan State, Iowa State, and that sort of grouping of maybe 2 seeds. And when you get down to 6, that's where I think you could see a lot of quote-unquote upsets in the Sweet 16 or even in the round of 32 that may not even be true upsets because I don't think it's as big a difference between those as it is from the top 5 or 6 teams in the sport right now and everybody else.
I've made my stance pretty well known on, the transfer portal and paying players and this and that. But when it comes to this time of year, when we have, a little bit more disbursement of talent where teams are a little bit more evenly matched up as you get down to the nitty gritty of it, that does kind of make it a little bit more exciting to watch when there's no real clear-cut favorite. There's no all right, we're going to have Duke in the Final Four, UNC, the same old team.
Last year, we ended up with 4 number 1 seeds for just the second time ever in the Final Four. Not the end of the world. This year, honestly, on paper, was looking like the same thing. Caleb Foster on paper, I'm coming at this, and those that follow me know that I've been a Duke fan for a long, long time. So I've watched every game they've played this year. He's of the guys they could afford to lose, and Gunba is supposed to be back next week, their center. He's the guy that you would think they could lose. And yesterday, Cam Boozer turned into a little bit of a point forward. They were using him. Caden Boozer started, but they were using Cam Boozer as a ball handler. But that could be because of his 3-point shooting, and he is their best off the dribble, get into the paint, break down the defense guy. They only play 8, occasionally 9, and that shortens their rotation. Like Clemson could clip them today, and I think that takes them out of the discussion, as Mike said, for top overall seed. If it's not Clemson, they'll get Virginia or Miami in the ACC title game. In Michigan and Arizona, especially Arizona, getting a chance to play Iowa State and then either Houston or Kansas. I mean, you're getting 2 top 10 wins. That might be enough to push Arizona up the overall seeding line, which, again, I don't know that matters as much because I think today, Michigan, Duke, Arizona, UConn, Houston, and Florida are clearly the 6 best teams in America. And any one of those would be my pick today to win the national title. I do not think anyone else out there can win the national title. Get to a Final Four, there's a list of them. But overcoming these top 6 teams to get there is going to be the challenge. But an injury the one to Foster could open up the door for somebody that's in the East with Duke.
You mentioned Kansas, and Darren Peterson's kind of fallen off the radar.
Mention Kansas, by the record.
No, you mentioned them as one of Arizona's wins.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, to secure. Yes.
Darren Peterson, all of his playing, not playing antics.
I'm glad he's playing.
I was gonna say they've kind of gone by the wayside.
Yes,
he has to play as much as he possibly can in this tournament, right? He has to.
Yeah, I think what's become obvious to me, and I'm not the one that decides this, and March Madness won't decide either. We'll pretend it does, but it won't. I think AJ DeBonsa has become the number one overall pick for weeks, if not longer than that now. I think clearly with his size and what he can bring to the table over Darren Peterson, who is more slightly built, excellent shooter, but just doesn't seem like he fits. Like I watched Kansas play and they survived TCU last night. It just doesn't seem like it fits perfectly. Talent's there and he's 18 years old. Like you're going to invest into what he'll become, not into what he is right now. But to me, I would take Darius Acuff as the second overall pick after AJ DeVonsa, the Arkansas point guard. Like,
are you taking?
That's where I'm at right now. As far as I don't even care what happens in March. Those are the top two players in the country.
Are you taking these guys over Peterson because they play every single game?
No. I'm taking them over him because I think they're both better and will be better. Period.
It doesn't.
I don't care the not being available. That's where you get into, all right, Peterson versus Cam Boozer. Mm-hmm. Cam Boozer's everything you want in a player, except for I think his upside's capped. I don't think he's ever a franchise player for somebody in the NBA. I think it's much more likely he becomes a excellent third player on a championship team. Here's the really local example, Aaron Gordon, right? Aaron Gordon on Denver, perfect, because he's the third wheel, excellent all-around player, contributes in a lot. I think that's Cam Boozer's destiny in the NBA. I don't think it's to be the lead dog. Like his dad, Carlos was kind of the second banana with Darren Williams in Utah, but that wasn't enough, right? That got them really far, but not enough. I think that's more of like, and he's excellent. He's a better all-around player than his dad ever was, but he's not going to carry your franchise. I look at two guys that could do that, as great as this draft is. And then there's a bunch of other guys that are really, really good that could be really great players in the NBA, but I think those are the two guys that could be all-stars within a couple of seasons in the league. That's my opinion anyway.
Okay.
After investing hours upon hours into college basketball, huge college basketball fan. So appreciate Mike O'Donnell hopping on with us there. We got the news coming up next.
Let's really do the news.
Yes. Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, and AM 740 Orlando sports leader Mike Tuck in for Marc Daniels, traveling back from Kansas City today in the Big 12 tournament. Chris Vasquez alongside as we dive into some of the news today. The Orlando Magic should have been easy, wasn't, but they were able to survive in overtime last night to capture their sixth consecutive win, 136-131 over the lowly Washington Wizards. So the Magic stay where they were at previously. The Miami Heat behind Bam's 21 last night. Not 83, but 21 last night also won. So keeping pace in the standings. Dwight Howard, former Orlando Magic superstar and, yes, current Hall of Famer, announced his retirement officially from the NBA, hanging up the cape, as he put it. Superman is officially done. 18 years. It's a long time. I mean, obviously, when you get out of high school, you're a little bit younger. You have a little bit longer of a shelf life. But
if he would have, for whatever reason, some team signed him to a one-year deal, rest of the season, whatever, would he then have to leave the Hall of Fame?
No. That's not how that works. Yeah. I mean, you think about, like, again, it's the Naismith Memorial Hall of, like, college coaches will get in. They're still coaching. Like, Coach K was a Hall of Famer before he retired. You don't have to wait until he retired. It's different than, like, other Hall of Fames in that way, which, I mean, it makes sense. A lot of these guys coach until they die in some cases. So you may as well elect them in. Kelvin Sampson just got put in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he's Houston's coach currently, as another example.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, you don't have to give that back. The LED court's going away. Brought that up earlier with Mark. We actually talked about that. I think it was yesterday. I don't think it was Wednesday. I think it was Thursday on the show. It's pretty spectacular to look at, and certainly an entertainment device that Mark said, inevitably will become part of a fixture of every NBA court in America, let alone every college court where they can afford for it to be, because it's an entertainment vehicle. It's something for the fans in arena to be entertained by, no different than every other pop and circumstance thing that is now part of arena life. They just weren't quite ready for it yet, as players were slipping. Christian Anderson, an excellent, probably Texas Tech's best player now that JT Toppin's out for the year, got hurt the other day. There are people that are a little irate about it, that had to happen, but they'll go back to it. They're not going to just, all right, crumple it up in a ball and throw it in the trash and be done with it. But they are done with it for the Final Four of the Big 12 tournament.
And Mark had mentioned something, that these guys aren't wearing the, we'll say proper shoes. Like, they care more about stop worrying about the looks when you're on the damn court. What are we doing? Is this a fashion show on the court?
Well, it has been for a while, if we're being honest. I mean, the shoes should still be functional. I don't know enough about sneakers to tell you.
I'm not a sneakerhead by any means.
Which shoes are and aren't. That's not a conversation I'm prepared to have with you.
Well, you would just think, buy shoes that are for a basketball court.
Well,
and if there's if there's issues with the court being slippery, okay, I can work with that. But if you're buying shoes because they look cool and they're not necessarily basketball functional, that's a you problem.
Well, last time I remember having a shoe conversation is when Zion exploded out of his shoe, which were Paul George's shoes, as I recall. So it's not like he wasn't wearing a NBA Nike player shoe.
Well, then I think we had the big baller brand issues.
Well, yeah, that's true. That was another one. Yeah, it might have ruined Lonzo's career.
Yeah.
Playing in those bad boys. That poor guy hasn't been able to stay healthy.
You want to sell them for like $500 a pop.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. That is definitely another conversation. SGA did it. Went over 20 last night in a win over the Celtics. 127 straight games, scoring 20 points or more, passing Wilt Chamberlain's all-time mark. An incredible feat. It's not one we're going to remember probably for much longer beyond this weekend, but nonetheless, when you're doing something that Wilt, now you've passed him, Michael hasn't done, Kobe hasn't done, Karl Malone hasn't done, Kareem hasn't done. They're all on the list, but way, way down the list. So it's pretty amazing that SGA has been able to be that consistent. We always talk about that word and desiring that for our sports teams and players. He has been that consistent as a scorer, and more than that for the Thunder.
We always talk about records, and if this is a record that we'll see broken, and if so, who would be the next guy to do it? Is this either one of those records that probably won't be broken for a long time? Or is there someone in the NBA currently, or
dude, we could
one
name
of these guys coming?
And
that,
I mean this, like, God knows there's 25 guys in the NBA you thought that could have done that. Like, if you told me that somebody had just done that, I had no idea who, right? I would say, wow, like it could be James Harden, it could be Kevin Durant, it could be LeBron James. Keep going, right? Every guy, Giannis, every guy that is like one of the leading scorers in the league who feels unstoppable, Luka, on any given night, you think could accumulate 127 games in a row, which is what, a season and a half, more than a season and a half of games. It's not like it's 8 seasons in a row, and yet it doesn't happen. Right? For whatever reason, it just doesn't play out that way. So it's obviously harder than we think it is. And maybe we're just underestimating the ability to score 20 in a game because we see guys score 30. Last night, Luka dropped 50 in a game. Earlier this week, Bam dropped 83 in a game. We just assume that it's easy to do, and clearly it's not.
Well, it's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy.
So good on him for accomplishing that. College basketball, UCF lost yesterday, 81-59. They are out of the Big 12 tournament. Marc Daniels, Mike O'Donnell, Mike Tuck, we all feel confident that the Knights will be in, but you don't know until Selection Sunday. We've seen stranger things happen, so we will wait until then. Florida State was this close. They actually built up an 8-point lead in the second half against number 1 overall team in America, Duke. And then Duke boat raced them to jump to a 9-point lead, and Florida State scratched and clawed their way back. They did knock down a lot of threes last night and had a 3-pointer in the air that would have won the game, but they do fall 80-79, so the Noles will not be in the NCAA tournament this year.
Would a win over Duke have potentially put them in, or would Florida State have had to have won the ACC tournament?
If you're just following, like, again, I don't have the time to do what the bracketologists do now. When I was younger, I used to do all this stuff all the time. I don't have the time now. No, it wouldn't have put them in, but it would have put them in the discussion. They probably would have needed a win over Clemson today, and that might have put them in. And then obviously one more win, and you're the ACC champion. You're in automatically at that point. But no, they were competitive against Duke when they played back in January. I'm not terribly surprised with Duke down 2 starters. But you got to score, right? I said it with Mike, said it with Mark. Like, if you're going to upset Arizona, if you're going to upset Duke, if you're going to upset Florida, if you're going to upset Houston or UConn, any of these type teams, Michigan, you're going to have to knock down threes. It will take that kind of a Herculean 10 3-pointers. You know, maybe it doesn't have to be one guy, but maybe multiple guys going off. That's the way you can overcome the size, is you just shoot from the outside. So if those teams are going down in the tournament, you're going to have to outshoot them to do so. Arizona is the one team of that group that really doesn't shoot a lot of threes. You know, Burries is fantastic at it, but they also off the bench shoot some threes. They just don't rely on it very much. Doesn't mean they're going to get beat. They have a great, group of 8 guys that they can put out there in a lineup. But yeah, that's where that sits. Florida is in action this afternoon. They've been waiting to play as the top seed in the SEC. Would presume, like most, if Florida wins the SEC, they will take home the number 1 seed in the South region. It may not matter, right? If you're the 2 seed in the South region, I suppose if they were to lose today, you could float into a 2 seed where maybe you end up in the East with Duke, but that may not be the worst thing if Duke's shorthanded in the NCAA tournament. You might rather have that than have Houston or have UConn in the South region. But Florida takes on Kentucky today. Miami, winners yesterday against Louisville, avenged a late season loss to the Cardinals. They take on Virginia, 7:00. Miami's in that 5, 6, 7 range, that middle of the pack range, possibly based on where UCF could be sitting to. It could be an opponent for a team like UCF. USF's also in that kind of 11, 12 range too. So we could have several Florida teams that are battling in the NCAA tournament. And one note from the NFL that's certainly newsworthy: Kyler Murray has signed a 1-year deal, kind of like Tua, veterans minimum deal, because he's getting paid by the old club.
Yep.
So taking advantage of that, the Minnesota Vikings, which introduces an interesting quarterback battle with him and J.J. McCarthy going into the upcoming season.
You would think, depending if Kyler Murray wins the job and the Vikings 9 wins,
Their over-under's 8.5.
So put them at the over.
Yeah.
9 wins. You would
That is
think
a tough division.
Oh,
yeah.
One of the best in football.
Yeah.
You would think that would have to signal the end of JJ McCarthy in Minnesota, no?
If Kyler plays, no, I think it's more on Kyler than the win total. Like if Kyler looks, because obviously if he plays well, then you're going to have to decide if you're going to re-sign him. Like
Right.
that's the next part of it,
Yeah,
right?
he's young enough to still get one more long-term
Same thing
deal.
with Tua and Penix in Atlanta, right? It's the same scenario. Like, how does that season play out? If it plays out really well for the veteran, then yes, you may look like Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. You may look to move the younger guy somewhere else. I personally wouldn't write off JJ McCarthy yet. I think he's physically talented enough. Got to stay healthy. His ebbs and flows are, I mean, he's got some high highs in his early NFL career. He's also got some low lows that are very troubling, but he's young, right? And God knows, Sam Darnold just won a Super Bowl. We can write these guys off a little bit too early at times. Baker Mayfield, even Geno Smith, right, resurrected his career to some extent when he went to Seattle. So I'm not willing to write Penix or JJ off just yet.
I'm not writing off. Well, God, Michael Penix hasn't really lit
He got
the
hurt.
world on
I mean,
fire either.
That's another thing. Out of sight, out of mind. You get hurt, you're not available.
But that's the biggest thing with these guys. Where you had mentioned Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith. I believe for the most part, at the beginning of their careers, they were healthy and they were available. Where JJ McCarthy missed his entire rookie season, came back, didn't really play an entire season.
Yes.
Michael Penix, you mentioned, got hurt, missed some time.
Mm-hmm.
The best ability is availability.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not available, and then you on top of that, you're roller coaster performances. Very easy to move on.
I think today, though, tell me if I'm wrong. We assume Penix is the starter in Atlanta. Maybe not at the beginning of the year for his recovering, but he will be the guy who starts the majority of games unless it just goes way wrong. And it's not that in Minnesota today. I think we assume Kyler will start, and unless he gets hurt, JJ may not get a shot to play this upcoming season.
Correct.
But doesn't necessarily rule him out, because if Kyler doesn't play well, they might go back to JJ anyway.
Yeah, or Kyler Murray, he's kind of dealt with some injury issues himself last year. He missed some time before ultimately getting benched.
Correct. And he had, I think 2 seasons ago, he played every game. But if you look at the last 4 years, he's missed a lot of time.
Yeah.
Again, smaller quarterback. You're going to be subjected to more injuries potentially. All right, we will recap the week and give you our stud and dud of the week coming up next.
Missed anything during the week?
What?
We've got you covered.
Yeah! Here we go!
Let's take a look back at the week that was. It's the Beat of Sports Week in Review with Marc Daniels.
No Mark, but you'll hear a little bit of Mark here in the Week in Review. He was here on Monday and Tuesday. Mike Tuck, I've been here since Wednesday. Mark will be back next week, and Chris Vasquez here as well. So let's look back at Monday, where Mark and CV reviewed Tua's career, and Mark asked a really good question, I thought, here.
6 years at Miami, where he was, 44 and 32. 44 and 32. And the injuries will stand out: over 18,000 yards, 120 touchdowns, 59 picks. How do you view the Tua era in Miami?
It's really hard to describe it because he wasn't bad. I mean, you just gave out the stats, but we can make stats say anything we want to.
Oh, yeah. You can do the old cold weather games, and you can do games not available and things like that. I
don't know how you describe it.
Empty.
That's about as good a word as any.
It's empty because you had flashes of what could have been when it was the number one offense in the league. The injuries are a part of his narrative for the rest of his career, whether he plays 1 more year or 10 more years.
The word I would choose for the record when I heard you guys, fun, is the one word I would choose. It was a fun era of high-flying football that he was a centerpiece of. And then if I'm playing off of Mark's word of empty, I would use a couple of words together here: unfulfilled promises. The promise was there. The hope was there. Just not quite delivered on.
I kind of agree with the empty. Yeah, the high-flying offense was...
As a Dolphins fan, I understand the word. I don't feel empty after it because I felt like I was filled to some extent, just like 3/4 of a gas tank, right? We didn't get quite to the top, but it was like enjoy. It's not like I'm like empty, like, oh, this is so bad, I have to suffer through this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but after 25 years of not even winning a playoff game, you would think, man, with this offense, we're gonna run through the playoffs, and still nothing.
Yeah, unfulfilled promise. Yeah, not quite there. On Tuesday, I laughed listening to this because Grinchy CV came out. I'll let you listen.
This is so embarrassing.
What is?
Steve Kerr whining that they need to play fewer games. You guys already hardly play any, if at all, back-to-backs. You don't have guys playing 82 games in a season because you're resting for load management. Like, good Lord, how much time do you want off? You want to keep the money the same? Of course you do. Don't say, oh, well, we need to look at the revenue. No, you want to keep the money the same while playing less. So once again, as always, the consumer gets screwed. Play the damn game. And if you don't like the style of play, guess what? You can change it. You can have a different style of play than any other team. Why are we being so lazy? It is so annoying.
This sounds like another one of the Chris segments of what are we doing?
Seriously, what are we doing? Go ahead. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, sometimes you walk out of a room and you go, is anybody working today? Is anybody in the building? And you kind of feel like that works its way into other businesses as well. And I don't have anything to argue with you there.
So you're agreeing with me?
I've never disagreed with that idea. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for all of us. Injuries happen. So like Steph Curry right now is on my fantasy team and not playing, and it's driving me crazy. But he's dealing with a real injury. He'd like to be out there, even if the Warriors aren't going to go anywhere in the playoffs. He wants to play.
Right.
That's understandably frustrating for everybody. But the other stuff, that's.
So you can't call me a Grinch if you're agreeing with the take.
No, it's a Grinchy reaction. On Wednesday, what was Wednesday? We were talking. What did we talk about here? I'm sorry, I don't have the file open. I'm trying to remember what it was.
This was me and you going back and forth on Bam Adebayo's 83-point game.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal earlier in the week. Yeah, here's Bam. If someone's gonna score that many points, you're gonna get to the foul line. You're gonna make, even discredit. He took 22 threes too, right? That's not normally, and Bam's repertoire to even shoot the ball 22 times, let alone 22 threes. He did knock down 7 of those. Yeah,
No, it just
it's a
doesn't-
lot of things that have to happen to get. I the last thing, because I find it almost gross that the early reaction in the morning is so many people are like dismissing it and poo-pooing it and acting like, no, come on, like.
I get you want to be
Can we not
happy
enjoy the fact that dude scored 83 in a game?
when it's gifted to you the way it was.
It wasn't gifted,
It was.
though. No, maybe
Yes, it was.
No. It definitely wasn't gifted. Did Washington blow on defense? 100%, but they were bad in the first half. You know, and like, does Spo keep him in the game longer than he needs to? Yes, but like, raise your hand honestly if you're mad about that, as opposed to a guy going after a record. Bo's not apologizing, by the way. That was the latest after last night. And Bam's not wrong. He did have 70 with 9 minutes to play. It just got unbasketball-like at the end. But again, like, who amongst us doesn't want to see a guy go after a record when they get that close?
Okay, then go after it the right way. Stop fouling the other team to preserve time.
Well, and the other team didn't go about it the right way either. Both parties are guilty.
So gifted.
At the end of the day. No, dude, he broke the franchise record for scoring in the first quarter, franchise record for halftime, club record by the end of the third quarter. Like, let's not pretend he did not play well. And by the way, not a record. It's okay. It's the second most ever. It's not a record. Relax. On Thursday, this is one CV and I actually agree on. No argument here. The NFL perhaps oversaturating itself. I think there's a difference in growing the popularity of the sport and growing the revenue in the sport. Sometimes those things do overlap, but this feels like, hey, we're being strictly driven by revenue here, because I don't see how that will help the game in any way. It's not going to help grow the game in any way. It's an opportunity to make money, to sell it to fill in the blank streaming service that wants to do that game the way they did Netflix with the Black Friday game. But there isn't like people going clamoring for it. Not that I won't watch it on Wednesday night if they put one there before Thanksgiving, but I think what makes football special is the idea of once a week we gather on Saturdays or Sundays or both with friends, with family. We go tailgate. We enjoy the game together at our houses, sports bars, whatever. And it is that moment. It's what differentiates it from baseball, which is every day, basketball, which isn't every day our team plays, but every day there's games going on. The NHL, same thing. Like, that's what separates it. We start filtering into every day of the week, and it's not going to have that same feeling anymore.
So we're going to have games on Thanksgiving Eve, Thanksgiving, Black Friday,
Saturday,
Sunday, Monday. Like,
yeah. Well, actually,
overexposure.
they can't go on Saturday yet. I told you they'll appeal to the FCC. It won't be too long. We'll have games on Saturdays as well before we get into December. All right, stud of the week.
Stud of the week.
I don't know if you saw this, but Bryce Huff, he retired from the NFL, spent a few years with the Jets and I believe the 49ers this past season.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a mission. He's just 27 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And he wants to save lives. I don't know if you saw this. Lithium-ion batteries, cause a lot of fires, damage to houses, and he is trying to prevent that.
Good for him, man. I think it's pretty awesome when you are lucky enough in life to bank and doing something you love, like a lot of these guys get to. Hey, no offense to anyone that wants to roll into retirement and hang out on a beach the rest of their life, but to try to make the world a better place. Good on him.
Yep.
I went a little bit more obvious. You may or may not have heard somebody scored like 83 points this week.
2 points. Mama, we feel your joy. The second highest scoring game in NBA history, second only to Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game in Hershey, Pennsylvania, against the New York Knicks when he was playing for Philadelphia.
One of those cool moments that you don't get often enough in an NBA regular season that can be far too long. Sorry if you're a hater, but it was a pretty cool moment.
I love the crowd reaction. I love, it always gives me goosebumps when you get everyone in the arena, from the Heat fans to the Wizards fans to the, fans who are just there to watch, everyone on their feet and cheering in unison. That's a cool feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Do without the MVP, because he's not an MVP. Stop it. Stop the MVP chance. But
man.
Other than that, you know what? Again, I'm not hating. I'm not mad at it. I just think he,
Bam will get to enjoy that the rest of his life, no
Good
matter
for
what
him.
he does. That will be
Good
a
for him.
topic of conversation for him. All right, dud of the week.
Dud of the week.
We already have enough to deal with gambling-wise when it comes to Major League Baseball, the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only a matter of time before our stories come out in the NFL and pretty much every other sport. But now we got MLS involved. MLS has issued lifetime bans to Derek Jones and Yayibo after both players bet on Jones receiving a yellow card in an October 19th, 2024 match. Neither guys are currently under contract with the club, but both have received lifetime bans from MLS. Stop! You are an athlete. You may not make as much as the Messis of the world or whoever the highest paid MLS player is, but you are still an athlete who has to abide by rules. What is it going to take for these people to stop risking everything to make a quick buck? I had mentioned something, this thing in such short-term fashion. Think long-term. So now what are you going to do now that you can't play MLS? You're going to have to go somewhere else. Who's going to want to take you on knowing that you have this attached to your name? Asinine, man. What are we doing?
I bet someone will.
Of course they would. Why not?
I bet you.
Ridiculous. Stop it.
You missed it the first time.
Yeah.
I had to repeat myself to make sure I got that in there. All right, my dud of the week, much more obvious. Eric DaCosta, Baltimore Ravens. You guys suck for backing out of the trade for Max Crosby. You found a prettier girl and said, all right, sorry, we're going to leave you at the prom, Max, in Oakland or Vegas, I guess it is now. We can't even figure out who you are anymore.
Did they find a prettier girl or a cheaper girl?
A cheaper girl. Really, a cheaper date. She was more likely to put out, I guess, is what it amounts to. Trey Hendrickson. No offense, Trey. No offense. But you didn't cost us 2 first-round picks, so you're the guy. And the Ravens, yeah, you made everyone else mad at you. And you sent someone home crying. That's not cool.
I don't think Max is crying.
I know. I'm just living into the metaphor, man.
Okay. My bad.
He'll be okay. Max is going to be all right.
Yes.
Max is going to be all right. The Raiders, maybe not, but that's the Raiders' fault. All right, we'll come back with more Beat of Sports, wrapping up a Friday edition next.
sports talk? Of course you are. And for Marc Daniels, here's Mike Talk.
It's a Friday on the Beat of Sports as we're closing in on the finish line here at noon. And man, if there's ever a guy that can bring a smile to your face, it is Kurt from Maxine's On Shine. Kurt?
Well, hello, Mr. Tuck.
Hello.
My goodness. This is like twice in 3 weeks.
It is. It is. Mark wasn't sure if he'd be back today. He's flying back this morning. UCF lost yesterday, so they got stuck one more day with Mike Tuck here, but that means I get one more day with Kurt, so that's good with me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you kindly. I certainly appreciate that, and always a pleasure. Indeed. Yeah. So, hey, man.
It's not 90 degrees here at the end of the week, Kurt. That's good news, right? We get to actually hang out and enjoy the weather outside instead of sweltering heat.
I am wearing my Palm Frond old school Guayabera shirt today in honor of that very thing.
Nice.
Yep. My wife likes to call them my shorts. Yeah. I know. Guys out there, and didn't mean to conjure that picture for you, but you got to rock them out when you can every once in a while. I'm not saying that I'm showing any booty action, Mike, just to make that very clear to everybody right now. That definitely isn't happening. So anyway, no, enjoying the beautiful weather right now. It is going to be glorious throughout the weekend. Hey, just a little bit of coolness in the air. Obviously we're going to get another little blast, I think, coming up the end of next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then they talk about another little taste of it. And then, by the way, bye-bye. Yeah, it goes away. So
speaking of taste, what is delicious? I mean, everything is, but what's the newest delicious thing at Maxine's?
The newest delicious thing at Maxine's is the attitudes walking in the door in anticipation of deliciousness coming to their palates. To be clear on all that, of course. So right now we're rocking out, brother. We've got our Rejuvenation brunch going on today. Actually, Maxine's doing a little video shoot with a wedding guide. Just a quick reminder out there. Hey, guys, gals out there, you getting married? You got any kids getting married? That kind of thing. You're looking for a great venue. You think of Maxine's On Shine. I've got a legitimate chapel, Mike.
I love it.
You knew that.
No, I did not. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was built in the 1960s by a wedding planner. By the way, yours truly, by Universal Life Church Ministries. I am ordained. I get to marry people. I've done 5 weddings there myself. And
excellent.
So out and about in a beautiful day. And even if you're not even to the commandment of saying, I do, you can still say, I do love you. And the way I'm proving it is bringing you in to get some really good, delicious food, as to which I'm going to talk about right now. So if we start at the beginning of the menu, back our lobster bisque. Oh, it is so good, so creamy. Little bit of cognac in with that cream. We take and we break up that knuckle and claw meat on that lobster, kind of shred it all about, mix it in there, that richness. My man, let me tell you, the other night, Maxine and I had a bowl of that. We just kind of both looked at each other and said, yeah, we're feeling kind of thankful today. This is this is our place, and get to have that and be able to imagine all the people that are going to enjoy, it conjures luxury and celebration of having a bisque like that. I'm telling you right now, everybody, even if you came in and you got that in a salad, you'll be super, super happy. I know you're not going to, because you're going to want to dive into these entrees I'm going to tell you about here as well. So tonight we've got a wild bison meatloaf. So if you talk about bison, very lean meat, a little bit of gaminess that goes on in with that. We're going to ground in a little bit of Black Angus, some grass-fed Florida Black Angus in with that too. Going to be a big, nice slice, kind of reminiscent of when you was there sitting in the kitchen with Mom, and you saw that end piece. It had a little bit of the charring on the end, and that was always fun to get that crispiness. But you really, really were mouth-watering about getting that middle slice. Hey, every slice that's coming out is like that middle slice out of the middle of the meatloaf for you. Got a gorgeous, my mouth is watering, a tangy tomato glaze over top of that. Oh, so good. Coming in with some mashed potatoes, little chef veggies on it. Speaking of manly man kind of stuff there, 14-ounce bone-on Cheshire Farms pork chop. This is the Mac Daddy of pork chops. I'm telling y'all right now, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches in thickness on that bad boy. We're going to get a beautiful sear on our flat top on that thing. Get a really nice light seasoning on with a little bit of salt and pepper. Don't need to mess up that beautiful pork flavor because, by the way, then we're going to ladle on top of it our award-winning mushroom bordelaise sauce. So think that really rich brown gravy on it, freshly sauteed mushrooms added into that thing. Man, it is a glorious way to go. If you decide, hey, I'm in the mood for a little bit of seafood, what's back? A lot of people ask us about it. Where's that Chiopino been? Well, it's back, y'all. A beautiful blend of that lobster meat, a little bit of mussels, shrimp, fresh northern Florida flounder added in, and scallops. That's going to be all mixed in with little tomato herb chablis stew. Going to lay it on a bed of goat cheese polenta. You are going to say, yum, yum, let me get me some of that. I'm telling you. And then you're going to have to finish up after you had that bisque. Either you had the stew or you had the pork chop, the bison. You're going to have to finish up with fresh baked New York style cheesecake, getting our strawberries out of Plant City. Just because the strawberry festival's over doesn't mean you ain't getting fresh strawberries. So we're going to do a ladling of that all over the top of it. Beautiful way to finish up your meal with us. Mike also really kind of big, and I know we only got a couple minutes and we got to go. But hey, man, live music is back at Maxine's now on Saturday for brunch, Saturday night, and Sunday brunch. So 3 sessions with live music, man. And actually, we had it last night for a Throwback Thursday, too, which was phenomenal. Absolutely bringing back that fun vibe that you come to enjoy. So if you want to be inside, you want to take that in, always consider it of a good conversation level so you're able to talk to that person. You're not yelling at the person like I am at the phone right now. Anyway, because I got to do it in a hurry. Anyway, but you can have nice, calm conversation in there, great backdrop music. If that ain't your scene, we've got the beautiful outdoor patio garden area that you can sit in, enjoy this beautiful weather. You'll have a great time. All that is brought in and around. Of course, it's Women's Month this month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're out, we're celebrating the ladies. Hey, fellas out there, my wife has been like getting on with all her gals and inviting them out. I need you to do me a favor. You need to bring in your lady and you need to come in. I need my fellas because she's showing me up right now. She goes, where's all your boys out there that listen to you on sports radio? Well, I haven't met too many of them lately that haven't been bringing in their gals. So fellas, during Women's Month, come to Maxine's on Shine. We're going to show you a great time, and I need you to let Maxine know, hey, I brought in my gal because, oh, by the way, Kurt made that food sound so delicious, and he's so proud of that vibe that you built all the way around this place. We had to come out and have ourselves a beautiful little date. So I'm looking for all the fellas to come out. I know you guys come out anyways, but I need you to come out. Let Maxine know when you see her. So I can say I got my crew in my corner. Hey, everybody, if you're looking to come out and come see us, and you want to get that reservation, the easiest way to do so is go online to maxinesonshine.com. Right there on the homepage, you can click on the Book a Table tab. That'll take you to our Open Table app right there. Pick out the area you want to sit in, the times, the tables that you're looking for with that. While you're there, you can check out all our promotions, our Throwback Thursday, 2 entrees and a bottle of wine, $50. You can't beat it. Our happy hour special, see our menus, entertainment lineups, all that kind of stuff. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you come on out and know that life is good in the neighborhood. Much love. And also, and I'm going to give a little shout out, Kay Rollins, Orlando City. Hey, sister, we're going to miss you as tonight is your retirement party from Orlando City and organization. But much love to you and thank you for all that you have done. We know we'll still see you in the community, but the clubs are going to miss your guidance and your help and your big love, but we'll always see your smile around. All right. I think that about do it for right now, Mike, because you're going to kick me off the air anyway.
We're going to run out of time.
Much love to you guys, to all the listeners. Everybody have a brilliant weekend. Hope your football team's got the free agents you wanted, unlike my Buccaneers. Anyways, much love. See you all around. Cheers.
See you, Kurt. Maxine's on Shine. We'll wrap things up next. Chris Vasquez, thank you for the time today and all week, buddy. I appreciate it. Marc Daniels back in the big seat on Monday. I'm Mike Tuck. I've really enjoyed my time in with you guys this week. The Herd's next. Bianchi and Kravitz back at 3. Have a fantastic March.